Welcome back to the deep dive. We're looking at something pretty intense today. Really asking, what happens when the job breaks a cop, but they're still the only one who can or maybe will do what needs doing?
Yeah, it's a tough one. We've got this stack of material, source documents detailing the origins of this rogue team. Ex-NYPD detectives, they called themselves the Apaches.
And the furnaces really paint a picture of a brutal world, a terrifying criminal operation, and the pretty extreme, extrajudicial steps these former officers take.
Absolutely. So our mission really is to unpack that. How did this happen? What were the personal traumas that sort of forged this group? And who or what were they fighting against? Because the target is, well, sharking.
We're trying to get past just the action, right, to understand the motivation. Why go from being retired, disabled cops to, well, to vigilantes?
Exactly. And it all starts with this single event, this catalyst. It's awful, frankly, and it shows a real failure in the system.
This was back in February '82, February 18th. A 12-year-old girl, Jennifer Santori, she'd run away from home, ended up at the Port Authority terminal.
And she was abducted, found days later, brutalized, tortured. The perpetrator was a man named Malcolm Juniper. Just horrific.
Terrible. But the thing that really pushed these future Apaches over the edge wasn't just the crime itself, awful as it was the aftermath.
Right. Jennifer's doctor, Carolyn Bartlett, recommended against having Jennifer testify. The sources suggest it was well-intentioned, trying to spare her more trauma from the court process.
Or the consequence.
The consequence was devastating. Without her testimony, Juniper was released.
Released after what he did.
And this is the part that just lit the fuse for these ex-cops. Juniper filed a lawsuit against the police department.
Unbelievable. So it wasn't just justice denied. It felt like the system was actively mocking them, protecting the guilty.
Precisely. It was this complete institutional failure, this weakness, that convinced these wounded guys that the only way to get real justice was to operate completely outside the lines.
Okay, so let's talk about this team, the Apaches. The sources are super specific here. Every single one of them was retired or on disability because of severe injuries sustained on the job.
They were broken, physically. But their leader, Boomer Frontieri, he had this idea. He believed that very brokenness made them, quote, the most dangerous.
It's a fascinating argument in the sources, isn't it?
Yeah.
That the system failed them twice. First by letting them get hurt, then by basically discarding them in retirement.
Yeah, their wounds weren't just physical. They were forced out, made obsolete. And the only way back to feeling relevant, feeling effective, was, well, it ended up being through this vigilante route.
And Boomer Frontieri, he really embodies that. He was the driving force. A Gold Shield detective, that's a big deal, senior investigator rank.
Yeah, major cases. But he was forced out young, only 38. Survived dozens of injuries over his career, apparently.
But it wasn't one big thing that took him out, right? It was cumulative.
Exactly. Half a lung gone, a bad right leg, the pain gets worse than the cold, the sources mention. But the real issue for him, the sources emphasize, was psychological. Feeling adrift and helpless in retirement.
He missed the action. Needed the risk.
He needed the purpose back. The pension wasn't cutting it.
Okay, so Boomer's the fire starter.
Yeah.
Who else formed the core of this team? Let's talk about the skills they brought.
Well, you've got Davis Winthrop, nicknamed Deadeye.
Says it all, really.
Right. Detective, sharpshooter, won awards for marksmanship. His career ended after falling 2 stories off a fire escape. Shattered both ankles.
So a guy with incredible skill,
Yeah.
reduced to what was he doing?
Working as a doorman. And the sources mention this interesting layer, his father's cynicism about him, a black man wearing a white man's badge. So he brings tactics, but also maybe a healthy dose of skepticism about the system itself.
Then there's Mary Silvestri. This is Columbo, the decoy, the strategist. Her story's different. More psychological trauma.
Yeah, intensely personal. She was attacked in an alley, stabbed, assaulted, raped, and the result, institutionally, was losing her badge.
And that loss was everything to her.
The sources say she felt dead now, without the job. Her husband, Joe, he was terrified of her going back into anything resembling police work because he saw what it cost her. But that violation, that personal horror, it fuels her, makes her fearless, in a way.
So we have physical damage, deep psychological wounds, institutional betrayal, but they also needed practical skills for this operation, illegal skills.
Definitely. Which brings us to Jimmy Ryan, Pins, the tech guy, described as the best bug the NYPD ever had, electronic surveillance expert.
And his injury. Another case of bad luck.
Horrible luck. Walked into the wrong apartment during a stakeout. Apartment 6F instead of 6E.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Cost him badly. Shredded organs, numbness in his right arm, chronic migraines. He ended up owning a bowling alley. But the team needed his skills with wires and bugs.
And for sheer intensity, there's Bobby Scarponi, Reverend Jim.
Another decoy, but with a really dark past. Childhood addiction. His mother was killed by a drug dealer, Ray Monte.
And he carried that with him.
Literally. Sources say he carried the knife that killed her. His own career ended because of severe burns from a fire. Lung damage, too. Always wore long sleeves to protect the raw skin. He's pure avenger.
And finally, the muscle, the demolition.
Delgado Lopez, Geronimo. Bomb squad veteran, apparently fascinated by explosives since he was a kid.
Naturally.
And inevitably, injured by a bomb, forced into retirement, he brings the boom. Literally. And the sources note something key about him. He's willing to die doing this.
So this crew, they're all carrying immense pain, but also unique, dangerous skills. And they felt they had nothing left to lose.
Exactly. Which you need to understand when you look at who they decided to go after. This wasn't just about settling a score with Malcolm Juniper anymore. They stumbled onto something much, much bigger.
Lucia Carney.
The Dragon.
The Dragon. A major drug queen. The sources estimate she was funneling something like $400 million a year to cartels. $400 million. How did she get so powerful?
Ruthless calculation. Came from poverty, married strategically, and then...
Well, the sources say she killed her husbands when they became inconvenient to her business ambitions. Systematically.
Wow. But the thing that really stands out, the detail that makes your stomach turn, is how she ran her operation.
Yeah. This is the part that elevates the Apaches' mission in their own eyes, you know?
Yeah.
From vengeance to something else. She introduced this method in the mid-70s. They called it the baby transport.
I read this in the sources, and it's hard to believe.
It's horrifying. She set up clinics, often targeting poor, young, unwed mothers, found unwanted newborns.
And then...
She'd have them nurtured for about 6 months, just long enough, apparently, to seem healthy. And then they were killed.
Killed for transport.
Yes. The empty body cavity was used to smuggle drugs or cash. The sources are disturbingly specific. Up to 6 kilos of cocaine or $100,000 cash per body.
And each infant's body was apparently used for 3 round trips before being cremated. They were just disposable tools for her logistics, purely transactional. That's the level of monstrosity they were facing.
So how did they connect Malcolm Juniper, the guy who attacked Jennifer Santori in New York, to this monster running a massive drug empire likely based elsewhere?
It was that classic investigative thread, follow the small fish. When they got Juniper, he had Lucia Carney's business card on him.
No way.
Yeah. Turns out it was given to him by someone named Saldo, who was Carney's main contact for the baby supply side of things.
So Boomer put it together.
He realized pursuing Juniper, this initial mission for Jennifer, had accidentally led them straight to the kingpin, or queenpin, I guess. The mission just exploded in scope overnight.
Which immediately brings up the morality, doesn't it? They start off reacting to a failure of the justice system.
And they immediately turn to essentially organized crime tactics themselves.
They needed a base, weapons.
Right. They basically traded their old badges for this new war. They set up shop in the basement of a restaurant owned by Nunzio Goldman, an old friend of Boomer's father, the sources say.
And Nunzio wasn't just offering cellar space and maybe some pasta.
Not even close. The sources describe crates full of military-grade stuff. Submachine guns, grenades, even liquid explosives.
This is a massive jump from detective work to basically equipping a small army.
It's full-on warfare. And they didn't hold back. Their first move was loud. The wrecking ball attack.
Using Geronimo's scoop.
Oh, yeah. Geronimo handled the demo, but Boomer himself apparently drove the wrecking ball right through one of Lucia's drug safe houses in New York City.
Just smashed it down.
Total destruction, no subtlety. This was a declaration.
And they left a calling card, didn't they? Something personal.
Chillingly personal.
Yeah.
Deadeye. He took a photo of his own son, Eddie, drew a big X across his face with a felt-tip pen, and left it under a brick in the rubble.
Basically saying, we know who you hurt, we can hurt you back.
Exactly. It was a direct message to Lucia Carney, and she got it. The retaliation was fast and just as personal and brutal.
She aimed right back at their weak spots.
Immediately. First, they went after Deadeye. He was out running in Central Park. Some guys pull up. They flash that same picture of his son, Eddie, with the X on it.
Oh, that's cool.
And then they stabbed Deadeye in the arm. Not to kill him necessarily, but to deliver the message, We know your son. We can reach him. Psychological terror.
But the worst was aimed at Boomer, wasn't it? Through the
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah. Dr. Carolyn Bartlett, the one who advised Jennifer Santori not to testify. Lucia's top assassin, Wilbur Graves, found her. He broke into her apartment, called Boomer, and made Boomer listen on the phone while Graves cut her throat.
Oh, my God.
And Graves apparently said to Boomer something like, "I've just killed a woman who loved you and it was my pleasure." Just pure, calculated cruelty, a direct strike at Boomer's conscience and connections.
Lucia was showing she could reach anyone connected to them, and the hits continued.
They went after Pins, the tech guy, kidnapped him, tied him up in his own bowling alley,
Oh, the bomb.
strapped him with dynamite, and the bomb itself was another message. It was apparently designed in a specific style, a style they knew Geronimo, the bomb expert, would recognize, like saying, "Your own expertise can't save you. We know how you think."
Was he?
Geronimo managed to defuse it, saved Pins, but imagine the terror. This string of attacks targeting Deadeye's son, murdering the doctor connected to Boomer, the personalized bomb for Pins, it changed everything.
It solidified their resolve.
Completely. Any lingering thoughts about just getting justice for Jennifer were gone. This was survival now, a war. The sources show this is the turning point. They decide they have to go after Lucia Carney directly, on her home turf in Arizona. No rules left.
So when you look at the whole picture from these sources, it's this incredible clash. Lucia Carney, the dragon, this ruthless, highly organized criminal mastermind.
Versus the Apaches. This band of broken, disabled, officially retired detectives fueled by trauma and, frankly, a desperate need for action.
Using any means necessary. Illegal weapons, demolition, high-tech surveillance.
And their own pain. You see characters like Mrs. Columbo, who felt dead without her badge, or Deadeye, terrified for his son. They weaponize their vulnerabilities, their past traumas.
It really brings us to this final question, doesn't it? Something for you, the listener, to think about after this deep dive. These Apaches, they were out. They had pensions, theoretically some peace. But they chose to step back into the fire.
Knowing it could mean death, knowing they were committing serious crimes themselves.
So the question isn't just about justice anymore. It's about commitment, maybe obsession. After everything the job took from them, what deep driving need makes someone embrace almost certain destruction just to feel that sense of purpose again, to feel like they matter, even after the system has thrown them away? What is that ultimate measure of a professional after the badge is gone?